I know now that there are 3 universities in the country that have departments of neuroscience, MIT and USC and now New York University, where I went. So I got my degree in neuroscience. If you study neuroscience, how the brain and the body work together, you quickly become aware that we don't die, that there are consciousnesses about us and around us, so that whenever I go to a conference of neuroscientists, we don't talk about is there a God? We talk about what does God do in your life. And what I see happening is in the convergence of science and religion, some very interesting things. One of the most interesting business trainers in the country has 15 CEOs of the largest companies in the world as his clients. And when he was here in Akron recently for a conference, he said, well, as soon as those CEOs understand their spiritual connection, that they have been made in charge of the company to make it a better world, then the entire company is transformed. Well, the other business people were in shock because they are still working for greed and working for money and working for the bottom line. And he's talking about some of the largest corporations in the world now headed by people who understand that they have a spiritual task and they're not going to die. They're going to step out of their body, confront themselves in what they have done, and deal with that. And that is Judgment Day, which means you can't get out of it anymore by dying. That seems to frighten a lot of people.
You know, it's very interesting. One of the thoughts that the council has given us, and you know, they're more into stimulating our thoughts.
By counsel, you mean those spirits who talk to you and you channel through, and they give you advice to give to people?
Not advice, suggestions.
Okay.
Okay, and ideas. If we choose to take it as advice, fine and dandy. But you know, one of the things they said I thought was really very good for me personally. Life is an opportunity that's given to us. In order to make that the maximum benefit it could be, or to earn that opportunity, to be worthy of it, we must choose to live that life the best we can. Not selling ourselves short for another God, which is greed. You know, the problem with our world today is that we're back to worshiping idols. But we've been very shrewd in how we've masked that over. We don't anymore worship a golden calf, but we worship greed and materialism.
Now, you have discovered, on advice of the council, suggestions from the council, that you can take no money for these gifts. And I think that's an interesting insight.
You know, if you're going to take it for yourself, no, you don't want to do that. You're not buying and selling a commodity. But if, like for instance, the Sol organization, we have a network of computers. We felt it was necessary to get into that in order to see if there was a consistency in the information. When this started, I made a pledge to myself, and I made a pledge to God, that I would take the time to guard against harming other individuals. That meant I had to find out whether there was a consistency to the information. If we asked a question this year on a topic, 2 years from now, if we ask the same question, are they going to give us an answer that serves, so that's self-serving, or are they going to give us a consistency of thought? Well, for many years, this was all hand-typed, and it was very hard. And it got to the point where, you know, we had a book that thick. It's hard to leaf through that by hand. So we went into computers. That does cost money. But now, when we want to check if there's an inconsistency in the information, all we have to do is type in a topic, and we can get everything in the last 23 years. Every word said on it. We've been very fortunate. Never in the, well, it's almost 1.5 million words now. Never have we been able to discover an inconsistency.
So whatever the council would say about how to deal with certain illnesses, certain financial fluctuations in the world, certain obligations we have for the environment and these things, continue to be the same kinds of suggestions.
The council goes to the root cause of problems. Okay. They don't deal with the symptoms. If you're sick, sure, doctors, medications will help, but will help only after the real cause has been eliminated. So when it comes to health, They will give us some advice in certain areas, but what they go for is the jugular vein. What are you doing, or what is the situation you're in that has brought about this illness? Now, one other question, that was, one other statement that was very interesting. Just because you have an illness doesn't mean you have a problem. You may be of such a nature that you have a great enough love for your fellow man to put yourself in a position where you have a sickness so that they may express their godliness in the care needed for you.
And that goes way beyond our shallow, everyday kind of concept. The concept of the council is that you never die, and that therefore a spiritual healing here is an experience in your continuing living. So they're not really worried about whether you live 70 years,
No.
80 years, 20 years.
They're interested in a quality, not a quantity.
So we find, again, that when you're talking about heaven, you're not talking about someplace far away.
No. God is right here. You are the vessel, or the tabernacle, or the chalice of God. The problem with the world today, we have lost our own self-respect and our right to dignity.